Oswego, SYO, is a city in Oswego County, New York, United States. The population was 18,142 at the 2010 census. Oswego is located on Lake Ontario in north-central New York and promotes itself as the port city of central New York. It is the county seat of Oswego County. The city of Oswego is bordered by the towns of Oswego, Minetto, and Scriba to the west, south, and east, respectively, and by Lake Ontario to the north. Oswego Speedway is a nationally known automobile racing facility. The State University of New York at Oswego is located just outside the city on the lake. Oswego is the namesake for communities in Montana, Oregon, Illinois, and Kansas. History. Early history. The British established a trading post in the area in 1722 and fortified it with a log palisade later called Fort Oswego. The first fortification on the site of the current Fort Ontario was built by the British in 1755 and called the Fort of the Six Nations. Military base Fort Ontario was destroyed by the French upon capturing it in the Battle of Fort Oswego. During the French and Indian War, construction of a second British fort began on the same site in 1759, but Fort Oswego was only used as a cannon emplacement. During the American Revolution, the British abandoned the fort, and in 1778, American troops destroyed it. In 1782, the British reoccupied Fort Ontario, and didn't forfeit it to the U.S. until 1796, 13 years after the cessation of hostilities in the Revolution. During the War of 1812, a weaker American garrison at Fort Oswego was overwhelmed by superior British forces. In order to stem the flow of supplies from the interior of New York State, throughout the 19th century, the U.S. military maintained a presence at Fort Ontario. During World War II, the fort was used to house interned, mainly Jewish refugees. In 1946, the fort was transferred to the state of New York. At that time, it was used to house veterans and their families during the post-war period. Development of the fort as a historic site began in 1949, which included the Safe Haven Museum. The current fort was built between 1839 and 1844. Major masonry improvements to the fort's outer wall were undertaken, but left incomplete when in 1872, Congress cancelled its funding. By 1901, the old fort was abandoned. Today, Fort Ontario is being restored to its 1867 to 1872 appearance. Costumed interpreters recreate the lives of the officers, men, and civilians who garrisoned the fort in 1868 to 1869. The city was incorporated in 1848. When the city incorporated, its area and population were removed from the figures reported for the towns. In the 1850s, at the height of a popular water cure movement occurring in the USA, in turn stimulating growth, Oswego was the home of the Oswego Water Cure establishment, which Stonewall Jackson reportedly visited in August 1850. Oswego is home to the Port of Oswego and once was a major railroad hub for several major railroads. The New York Central Railroad, the Delaware, Lackawanna and Western Railroad, and the New York, Ontario and Western Railway railways. Both railways operated a coal trestle for fueling steamships at the Port of Oswego. Former NYC and DL&W passenger stations remain, as does a NYC freight station. Nothing remains of the O&W, which was abandoned in its entirety in 1957. The tunnel from the former O is used as a rail trail. Geography. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 11.2 square miles, of which 7.7 square miles of it is land and 3.6 square miles of it is water. Oswego is located on the southeastern shore of Lake Ontario at the mouth of the Oswego River, about 35 miles north of Syracuse, New York and 69 miles east of Rochester, New York. New York State Route 481 runs north-south to Oswego from Syracuse and Fulton. New York State Route 104 runs east-west from Rochester to Oswego. The nearest city is Fulton, located south of Oswego and north of Syracuse. As Oswego is located on the eastern shore of Lake Ontario, in the center of the snowbelt, the region often sees prodigious lake-effect snow accumulations. Oswego is one of the snowiest towns in America, with some winters totaling over 300 inches. In 2007, Oswego gained national attention when approximately 130 of snow fell in a 2-week time span. This broke the record of the blizzard of 1966, which blanketed the city with 102 of snow. As a result of this storm, the school district closed all facilities for a week, effectively shifting the planned winter holiday locations and communities near Oswego. Oswego, the town of Oswego. Minetto, the town of Minetto south of the city. Scriber, the town of Scriber east of the city. Southwest Oswego, a hamlet located west of the city. Fruit Valley, a hamlet located west of the city. Climate demographics. As of the census of 2010, there were 18,142 people, 7,486 households, and 3,896 families residing in the 8,258 housing units in the city. The population density was 2,343.4 people per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 94.1% white, 2.3% African American, 0.1% Native American, 1.5% Asian, 6% from other races, and 1.5% from 2 or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 5.1% of the population. The median income for a household in the city was $39,867, and the median income for a family was $57,324. Males employed full-time, year-round, had a median income of $50,074 versus $33,211 for similarly situated females. The per capita income for the city was $21,139. 24.2% of the population and 14.4% of families were below the poverty line. Politics. The city is governed by a mayor, currently Republican Billy Barlow, and a board of 7 aldermen who are elected from the city's 7 wards. Recent previous mayors include Democrat Randy Bateman and Republican John Gosek. The city of Oswego is included in New York State's 48th Senate District, represented by Republican Patty Ritchie. The city is also part of the 124th Assembly District, which is represented by Republican Will Berkeley. Oswego is located inside the 24th Congressional District of New York, which is represented by Republican John Katko. Notable people: Neil Bancroft, U.S. Army soldier in the Black Hills War. George Barnard, Civil War photographer and portrait photography pioneer. Joey Belladonna, singer of heavy metal band Anthrax. Owen Benjamin, formerly Smith, actor and comedian. David Branshaw, PGA Tour golfer. Latham A. Burrows, former New York State Senator. Fenimore Chatterton, 6th Governor of Wyoming. Eric Cool, NHL hockey player, Olympian. Francis D. Culkin, former U.S. Congressman. Robert H. Gittins, former U.S. Congressman. George Grant, doctor and inventor. John Porter Hatch, Union Army General. Robert M. Hensel, disability advocate, poet and world record holder. Greg LaRocca, former professional baseball player. Doug Lee, a computer scientist at SUNY Oswego, specialist of concurrent programming and concurrent data structures who made significant contributions to Java. Edward Nathaniel MacDonald, businessman. Luther W. Mott, former U.S. Congressman; Robert Natoli, strongman; Mike O'Brien, disambiguation needed, a hereditary disease foundation advocate who died in 2005 climbing Mount Everest with his brother; Dan Reynolds, nationally published cartoonist, author, and greeting card artist with American Greetings, born and raised in Oswego, NY; Curtis F. Shope, Medal of Honor recipient; Newcomb Spur, Wisconsin State Assemblyman; Willard Dickerman Strait, banker, diplomat, co-founder of the New Republic magazine; Peter Stickles, actor; Charles A. Talcott, former U.S. Congressman; Mary E. Walker, only female Civil War doctor, and only woman to receive the Medal of Honor; Lee Allison Wilson, author; comedian Jerry Seinfeld; ESPN SportsCenter anchors Steve Levy and Linda Cohn; NBC's Today Show weatherman Al Roker; and Robert E. Moritz, former chairman and senior partner of PricewaterhouseCoopers; Roy Lichtenstein, all attended sunny Oswego. Culture and recreation. Oswego has a long history stretching back to the 15th century. Visitors can learn about the city's history by visiting museums such as the H. Lee White Marine Museum, the Richardson Bates House, and Fort Ontario. Throughout the city and public parks, many historical monuments can be found honoring historical figures and other forts that stood in what is now the historical district. The city includes a number of sites on the National Register of Historic Places, including the Market House, Oswego Armory, Oswego City Hall, Oswego City Library, Oswego County Courthouse, Oswego Yacht Club, Tanner Block, and U.S. Custom House. The most notable historian was Rosemary Nesbitt, who is immortalized by a monument in the city's signature public park, Great Beck Park. Every Halloween, she would traditionally let down her long silver hair, dress in a ghostly gown, and tell ghostly haunted tales spanning across the entire history of the city. Nesbitt, who also founded the Marine Museum and wrote various books about the city's history, died on August 2, 2009 at the age of 84. Ludwig Bemelmans, the writer best known for his popular Madeline stories, was stationed at Fort Ontario, Oswego, NY, from 1917. From this experience he wrote the book My War with the United States, published in 1937. Boating, fishing, and hiking are also activities that are enjoyed by residents and visitors. Oswego also has 3 ice skating rinks, a large public pool located on the Fort Ontario grounds, bowling, and the historic Oswego Theatre. Every year the city hosts the Oswego Harbor Fest, a 4-day festival of music, culture and food, centered around the Oswego Harbor, culminating in a fireworks display on the Saturday evening of the festival. The event is sponsored by local businesses, and the entertainment is mostly admission-free. The festival continues to draw approximately 150,000 to 300,000 attendees every year. In 2007, sunny Oswego Lakers men's hockey team won the NCAA Division III Ice Hockey Championship. Garen Reevaber's goal 12:55 into overtime gave Oswego State a 4-3 win over Middlebury on March 18, 2007. The Lakers captured the school's first-ever national championship in a team sport. The 2006-07 season marked the first season Oswego played in the newly built, state-of-the-art campus center, located on Lake Ontario. The campus center replaced Romney Field House, which opened in 1964, and is believed to be the first ice rink built within the State University of New York system. Media. The city is served by the Palladium Times newspaper, Oswego County Today, the student-run newspaper The Oswegonian, as well as Oswegonian, and is the home to the radio stations WRVO, WSGO, WNYO and WMVN. Oswego also has its own television station, WTOP, which is completely student-run at the State University of New York at Oswego, and is served by the Oswego High School television station, WBUC. Oswego is served by the Syracuse TV market. Previous media included the Oswego Daily News. Education. The city is part of the Oswego City School District. The Oswego City School District has 1 high school, 1 middle school and 5 elementary schools. The State University of New York at Oswego is located just west of the city in the town of Oswego. Trinity Catholic School provides classes for Pre-6. Oswego Community Christian School provides classes for Pre-K-8.